All right. Hello, my name is Matthew Pearson. Um, this is my presentation for the class, and I'll be talking about the stigmatism against the LGBTQI population. Um, so first, I'll introduce the authors of the articles. First, we have Sayapa. She is a academic dedicated to researching and teaching the history of the Central American region. She's from Honduras and she has lived in LA most of her life. She has a bachelor's in psychology and Spanish at the Pitzer College, and then going on to her master's and doctoral degree in history at the Cornell University. She finished that in 2011. This is the author for the Central American Migrants article. Next, we have Antonio Tomas de la Garza. He has a PhD in communications from the University of Utah and a bachelor's in political science from the Northern Arizona University. He did his dissertation on combining ethnographic fieldwork with life history interviews of undocumented immigrants in order to understand how the undocumented deploy rhetoric to challenge and survive the racist nativism. He is the author for um, a eulogy of Roxana Hernandez. And next we have Jack Greves and Bambi Salcido. Jack is an assistant professor of gender and sexuality studies at UC Riverside with a PhD. And then Bambi started the Trans Latin Coalition in 2009, which focuses on policies and legislation that address the needs of trans people. They also provide direct services such as computer labs, emergency housing, food tickets, and such for trans people in various locations, trans Latinos. Well, anyone. So next I'll talk about the main themes of each article. So for the Central American Migrants article, in 2009, there was a mass exodus of migrant youth from Honduras, and the contributing factors to this mass exodus was the U.S. foreign policy at the time, and the stigmatisms and invisible narratives against the LGBTQ plus people in the U.S. military presence increased the exposure of STIs, which in turn increased the stigmatism. And the U.S. foreign policy especially increased exodus because basically they were influencing the elections through endorsements. And the main points, a eulogy of Roxana Hernandez. The main points is Roxana Hernandez was a trans Latino. She died in immigration customs due to lack of HIV care. There was also signs of in the autopsy there showed signs of abuse. And then the immigration customs used the stigma associated with sex work and transgender people to deflect the responsibility of their negligence, saying that there was nothing they could do and it was an accident. And so, and then this article also addresses how many Latinx migrants are forced to participate in sex and prostitution and drug dealing to survive due to being marginalized by stigmatisms because they can't they can't get jobs, so they're forced into illegal jobs. Next, continuation. In the next article, validation through documentation. A survey was conducted that found, the survey on trans Latin people found that out of 129 participants, 57% of them made less than 10K a year. 37% were undocumented and 26% were unemployed. 50% had no medical care and 28% had no insurance. So this really highlighted how badly the stigmatism affected these people, as they weren't able to get proper jobs. Even though they had medical insurance, they would not get any medical care because of the stigmatisms. Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah, so the critical points. So the causes of suffering for the LGBTQI migrants, the stigmatism against trans people, as in one article it was mentioned that I think Roxana, you basically, if you were trans, you would just be arrested whenever the police would see you, and then beat and raped and pretty much thrown back out. So you were forced to either leave or continue living like that. And that goes into the violence in Honduras. But the political instability and the U.S. influence in the land, it creates a very unstable environment, which shows up in marginalized populations, like trans populations. And then, U.S. immigration policy and control uses stigma against trans people to deny them proper support, and in some cases, even leading to death. Next slide. So the main points of the articles were that U.S. foreign policy does not fully address issues relevant to certain groups of people, such as LGBTQ+, where there's gaps in cases that should really address these issues. And the stigmatism against LGBTQ people causes them to be forced in positions such as drug dealing and prostitution. It also keeps them from having a fair trial, where Roxana had a legit trial or legit reason to seek asylum, but was denied any sort of trial because of the stigmatism. And then that's why she was held in customs. Sorry, not customs. And then there's also a serious mishandling of LGBTQ detained at the border. And historically, in 2009, there was a coup in Honduras, which caused very extreme political instability in the area. This political instability continues today, where dictators are elected despite public disapproval because of support from Donald Trump. This happened in 2000. recently 2022. And this instability affects the LGBTQ plus people because it forces them to live under homophobic and transphobic conditions that threaten their life. And they really have nowhere else to go. Roxana, yeah. In the eulogy for Roxana Hernandez, she tried to go to Mexico but was denied. And then that's when she ended up trying to get into the US. And the contemporary social context where stigmatism against trans people is a all-time extreme right now. There's a lot of instabilities. Next slide. So in the findings, in reading these essays, I learned a lot about the U.S., the current state of the U.S. foreign policy, and the effects it has on the people at the border and outside the border. Especially how much control we have, even in areas that aren't U.S. states, like like Honduras, we're influencing their elections, and we have U.S. naval bases there also causing issues with STIs and stigmatism. I also learned just how much political instability can affect marginalized populations. Where these marginalized populations, such as trans men, are kind of see the most extreme effect and see the most pain and suffering. And then even inside the US, there's still people who are affected by stigmatism, causing them to be forced into illegal jobs and live below the poverty line, such as the people that were surveyed from the Trans Latin Act Coalition, or even though they were in the US, a lot of them were below making $10,000 a year. A lot of them had no health coverage. Despite actually living in the US. So the conclusions are that stigmatism against trans people really affects them and keeps them from getting proper jobs, living where they want, getting the health care they need, getting the support systems they need. And then violence against them definitely hurts them because it pushes them to sort of live two lives, live in hiding, and they get displaced because they have to leave. And the inequality too, where again they're forced just because of who they are. They're forced into these positions where they don't have any stability or ability to get out of. So all these articles were really great at conveying the extent of how things really are in Central America and other places. Well, being the border. And then, okay, here's my sources. That's the end.
Aparte de la violencia que hay en este país, no hay derechos. La única oportunidad que tenés es la oportunidad de que te discriminen o de que te quiten la vida. Todos tenemos derecho a la vida, derecho a ser feliz como la persona que uno quiere ser, de gritar a los cuatro vientos: yo soy una mujer transgénero, yo quiero ser reconocida como Rubí Ferreira, no como Josué Zúñiga. El momento que me di cuenta que yo era diferente fue cuando entré al kinder, a la escuela. Me llevaba más con las niñas porque me atraían las faldas de las niñas, me traían las colas de las niñas. Yo asimilaba querer ser una mujer en ese momento, pero yo sabía que no se podía porque yo era varoncito. Y de ahí empezó los insultos, el maltrato. Y me salí del colegio porque mucha discriminación. No había un espacio donde yo me podía sentir lo que yo quería ser. Conocí mis amigas trans y me encantó. Cuando yo las vi, yo dije, yo quiero ser como una de ellas. Porque les miraba pechos, cabellos largos, caderas, nalgas, piernas. Bueno, yo salí a la calle porque yo quería ser una de ellas. Yo quería ser una de aquellas mujeres que todo el mundo admira, que todo el mundo dice, wow, era hombre, pero qué cuerazo de mujer. Que cuando vas pasando la gente queda como entre aquella duda, ¿es hombre o es mujer? Me sentía bella, me sentía admirada, feliz. De 13 amigas que éramos, 10 fueron asesinadas. En marzo de 2010 asesinan a mi amiga Débora Giselle Corcova. Nosotras estábamos compartiendo, llegó un tipo y solo se bajó y sin medir palabras, sin pedir ninguna explicación, abrió fuego contra ella, la agarró a quemarropa. De la balacera que el hombre hizo, una esquirla de una bala a mí me entró en mi pantorrilla. Entonces de ahí fue cuando a mí me propusieron participar en el Miss Arcoíris de Honduras. Y yo dije, si me lo gano, va a ser el regalo más bonito que voy a recibir en toda mi vida, después de haber pasado tantas cosas feas. Cuando yo miré que el jurado se paró, yo dije, la corona es mía. Aparte de ser una mujer trans, yo me siento como la reina de la gay, de las chicas trans de la calle. Soy su reina.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.